I'm not making a claim about the sort of, kind of true, deep logical form of these various propositions.
Yeah, I guess I don't quite follow why the non-carnivorous cow, why would I even have to be committed to there was any such thing you're referring to? I guess that's what it comes down to in agreeing with that sentence.
So what I was thinking was, I'm going to say some things. We agree that there aren't any carnivorous cows.
Yeah, and I just mean that means all the cows that exist are non-carnivorous.
Okay, that's fine.
And if there
you can put
weren't
it that
any
way.
cows,
You can say it in French. You can say it in Japanese. You can say it with.
and if in a world in which there weren't any
cows,
cows, if we go to a world in which there aren't any cows, then there just wouldn't be that proposition.
I would say if we would.
Because you wouldn't be able to refer to cows.
Oh, I see. So if that's what you're understanding, then I would say in that world that proposition would still be true. There are no carnivorous cows. It'd still be true, right? I think you should say in that world it's true too. It's just vacuous. Because it's going to probably be a conditional. If there were cows, then they'd be non-carnivorous. That's what you should say, I think.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But so I don't think we have a disagreement yet, unless you want to fight about sort of the kind of deep nature of these propositions, and that's not even what I'm talking about.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I don't,
Clear?
yeah.
Okay. Next question, please.
Well, I find a lot to agree with in this paper.
Cut off his
But
mic.
here's the but. I have a little trouble with argument 2. So that's the one that, his first premise, A, is no man does not exist.
Yeah.
Now this sentence that's used to express the proposition, no man does not exist, as I understand it, no man is supposed to be functioning as a proper name in that sentence. Is that right?
It's not functioning as a definite description.
Well, let's see. It was introduced into the discourse this way. We had a certain sperm
Yeah.
and a certain egg and a certain individual essence, so related that if the sperm and egg united in the appropriate way, what resulted would instantiate the essence. And then I think you said, let's call what resulted from the union of the sperm
What
and
would
the egg.
result?
What would result from the union of the sperm and the egg, no man. The problem is, there isn't anything that would result from the union of the sperm and the egg. There's nothing to call no man. Go through all the objects there are, and none of them is the thing that would result if that sperm and that egg united. So I don't see that you've managed to introduce no man into our discourse by this process.
Do you believe that the subjunctive conditional, if S and E were united, then
You
there
bet.
is a particular what?
Something would result if they.
How about this? Do you agree with this? That there is some essence E such that if they were united, E would be exemplified.
Yeah. Well, E would be exemplified means there would be something that had E, right?
Yeah.
So yes, if the sperm and the egg united, there would be something that had E, but that doesn't mean that there is something that has this property. It would have E if the sperm
I agree
and
with
egg
that
united.
completely.
So how did you manage to? I don't understand the act by which you introduced no man into our discourse. It sounded like a dubbing, but there's nothing to dub.
I introduced it by drawing your attention to a certain counterfactual.
Yeah,
And
with you so far.
That's what?
I'm with you so far.
Good. And how about this? So let's go with essences. And thereby that counterfactual allows you to grasp an unexemplified essence that otherwise you wouldn't be able
Well,
to.
wait, you had to have the essence in the first place before you could understand the counterfactual. Remember?
Oh, I don't think that's true. What do you,
No, you said you had to imagine that the sperm and the egg and a certain essence were so related that what would.
no, so do it like this. There is some X such that A, X is an essence, and B, if S and E were united, then X would be exemplified.
All right.
Okay?
Now, how do we introduce no man?
Yeah, and so you can think, and so sort of ladder up this way. So you sort of, that sort of counterfactual gives us a sort of description that allows us then to dub the essence.
Yes, but I want to hear what you say.
Okay, well, I'm going to go really slow.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. He said he didn't understand at the beginning. I'm just happy about that. So I think, so it allows you to dub the essence, and then I want to say that then allows you to grasp singular propositions concerning the individual who would have exemplified that essence.
Concerning I want to know how you introduced the word no man into our discourse.
And then I
The subject
said,
term of the
and then I
subject.
said, so, okay, so you've grasped the essence, and now I say you
Grasp
can
the
grasp,
essence.
you can grasp the proposition that the essence is
Uh-huh.
not exemplified. And now I say, let the expression no man does not exist express the proposition that that essence is not exemplified.
Oh, so it's no man does not exist is the same proposition as essence E, whatever it was.
If there are essences, probably, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that's going to be, I mean, again, this comes back in some way to Robin's point. I mean, if there are essences, maybe that's the sort of deep logical
But
structure.
then, of course, the constituents.
But if not, then
But then what's that do for the constituents of the proposition later? That just has an essence as a constituent. I don't see what other constituents.
well, it's a good thing singular propositions don't have to have the individuals they're about as constituents, or else then this wouldn't be a singular proposition about no man. It would be a singular proposition about nomanicity.
Okay. So actually, no man is not functioning as a proper. The sentence is structureless.
I was trying to answer it in a way, I was saying, give me essences and I can give you an answer that should satisfy you. I actually hope there's a way to do it without it, but if you be
well,
satisfied with that, then we see
okay,
that what I said
well,
is,
I will.
yeah, okay.
Thank you. Next question, please.
So this is related. Think about the difference between these two propositions. Were S and E to be united, there would be some essence E such that E is instantiated by the object, which is the union, ... Versus this proposition, there is some essence E, right,
Yeah.
such that were, then E would be instantiated. So the first proposition, clearly true. It's the second I'm wondering about. Suppose you think there could be qualitatively indiscernible but hexaetistically distinct worlds. So same qualitative facts, but you move around the hexaeties. Then there'll be a world in which that's nearby, in which S and E are united and they get hooked up to a certain essence, and there'll be a world which is qualitatively indiscernible from that, right, but where they get hooked up to a different essence. Now, on the usual counterfactual semantics, you think about nearness of worlds in terms of some kind of similarity. And so then the question is, why would you think one of these worlds more similar to ours than the other? And you need one to be more similar to the other in order for the counterfactuals you're working with to come out true.
Sure. This, of course, isn't an objection just to what I say. It's going to be about a lot of different kinds of subjunctive conditionals. So I guess the main answer I want to say is that because I'm a house student, I start with modality, and then sort of possible worlds are defined in terms of that. So I don't begin with the idea. I'll just speak for myself. I don't begin with the idea that there are all these sort of worlds out there, and we've got these, people wearing red hats that look kind of like me, so that's what makes it possibly true.
Sure.
Begin with I have certain modal properties, and then as a result, I think of worlds as as a result, explained in terms of there's certain worlds in which, certain possible worlds in which I wear a red hat or whatever. Likewise, I want to say, if that's the way you think about modality, I think subjunctive conditionals are sort of modal animals. So I think the way you ought to think about nearness of worlds is as a sort of picturesque description, a useful heuristic, or perhaps a result of what the true counterfactuals are.
Okay.
So the idea that we sort of begin with worlds that are similar in terms of qualitative properties, and then that defines nearness, and then that's what makes a subjunctive conditional true, I think works really well on a Lewisian framework, for example, that's sort of reductive in terms of the qualitative properties. But I think if you start with modal facts, among the modal facts, you should start with the subjunctive conditional. So I would say what makes it near, say it's near just is to say that the relevant counterfactual is true. So I sort of reject this little argument you gave there.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, next question, please.
So I was going to try to object to 7G in Roman numeral 7 without appealing to serious actualism. So the thought is that we modify the received view in a way that's sensitive to the distinction between atomic and non-atomic propositions. So the thought is that if a proposition is directly about X, then either that proposition is an atomic proposition that has X as a constituent, or it's a non-atomic proposition that has as a constituent at least one atomic proposition with X as a constituent. Second assumption, constituency isn't transitive. You could probably motivate that based on what these people think propositions are. And if that's the case, then 7 is not obviously true, right? Because we're looking at a non-atomic proposition. It's not the case that Lincoln exists. So the thought is that, well, even though it has it as a